Hi, Sophia and Isabel. Well, maybe you can hear me now. Listen, I just got your email, so all I'm going to do is just make this. You really don't. It's more like an audio recording than a video, but so I'm just going to read through the question and respond to you. Okay, so you'll have a little bit of lag time in between. When we take the total number of students and divide it by the total number of classes, I'm looking at number one. Yeah, by the way, from your email you sent me. We cannot take into account which classes are outliers, which makes our results less accurate. So I would agree with that. You definitely have to look out for outliers. There is a mathematical formula for outliers, and I can show you on the web about figuring that mathematical formula out. But some outliers you can just more or less tell just by sight. But the mathematical formula does exist. Do you count VHS students or a VHS class? If so, okay, so we can count VHS as a normal class. However, it will still be an outlier. So I'm unsure about VHS classes. I'm not sure if it's actually a normal class because one of our teachers actually doesn't teach the class. It's simply a student who's a part of the class. So what class size do you count? Do you count the class size that our student participates in? So, Allison, Allie's doing an Algebra 1 VHS course. Well, I think she's the only one doing an Algebra 1, so do we count her as an Algebra 1 class of 1? But the problem with that is the teacher is not a ZIS teacher. So when you're looking at average class size, and again, it's for promotion purposes, I'm uncertain about, do you count a class, do you count a student towards a class when the teacher's not counted towards the class? You see what I mean? Because normally, right, if you're counting my class versus, Frau Siedler's class, and you're just finding average class size, you're adding up the total number of students and dividing by 2, because that's 2 classes. But you're also talking about 2 teachers, right? So the fact that VHS doesn't have an actual teacher, a ZIS teacher is not teaching the class, does that matter? Or is it simply the number of students? Or is it simply the class that the student takes? It doesn't matter whether a ZIS teacher teaches the actual class. Something to think about. Do you count the average number of absentees? So you say yes, but now we have to consider the problem about how to find accurate data regarding absences. Fair enough. I'll let you choose on that one, and accurate data regarding absences. I overheard you talking about the idea of, Friday there's more people absent than, say, Tuesdays because of trips and so forth. I'm definitely on board with that. You really got to be careful to not take the average attendance for all Mondays. The way you collect that data is going to be very important. Yeah. You say we could ask teachers to check the number of students per class on PowerSchool. Is there a master list? I think you mentioned something about Mr. Nelson maybe having master list, but maybe that's only for advisory. Romy Backus, R-O-M-Y, last name B-A-C-K-U-S, Romy Backus, is our PowerSchool manager here. She actually has a desk in the main office of the middle school. So you could definitely ask Romy, and if you want, I could kind of walk up and introduce you or something like that, and give her kind of a heads up that you'll be asking her some questions about some data that you need. Okay. How are you going to get the number of classes? Again, an alternative is so a master list. This is going to take a long time, and there is more room for error if you ask all the teachers individually. I definitely think there's room for error if you ask all the teachers individually. I think that's a good point. Year-long and semester courses, which course do you count? Only the year-long courses? Okay, so you count all the elective classes, both year-long courses and semester courses. Okay, I'll let you go with that. Do you include, so the idea of outliers. You count all classes regardless of size because the outliers probably will not be significant. If you think that's the case, you darn well better count, you better do it without the outliers included into the average, because you should be comparing them if you think that the outliers will not be very significant. Okay, there's actually a mathematical thing about the significance. Okay, whether it matters or not. That gets into a lot of statistical stuff. I'm not even sure. I'd have to look all that stuff up. I don't know that. Um, but I definitely think once you get the raw data, if you do count the outliers, fine, but then you should not count the outliers as well, and so it can give you, you can compare the two numbers, because you might be surprised with what you get. You might change your mind on that. And then again, you brought up advisory. Really good point. Never thought about that as a class or not a class, and do you count it or not? And we had a conversation about that. Because again, you got to look at the amount of time spent per week or even per month, because remember, advisory doesn't meet every Wednesday for that full block, that full 60 minutes or so. So you really got to take into account, do you count advisory as a class compared to the other classes that do meet 3 days a week? And I'll be interested in what you think about that. Okay, so hopefully that gave you some good information, at least just talking about, or giving you some feedback on what you wrote. Okay.